Conda is the newest Intamin Mega Coaster at Walibi, Belgium. This ride was announced back in 2018, and I, like many coaster enthusiasts, patiently waited for this coaster to open. That finally happened in 2021, and it's exceptional. This ride feels like the combination of Expedition G-Force and Steel Vengeance. Find out what makes this coaster so special in this review. Walibi Belgium has always been a contender for the top coaster lineup in Belgium, mostly for quantity over quality. The park had some interesting coasters, including a Vekoma wood coaster and an indoor Schwarzkopf shuttle loop, but nothing truly world-class. A few years ago, the park unveiled a €100 million investment plan, and the linchpin of this was Conda. This coaster is placed in the very back of Walibi Belgium in the relatively new Exotic World section. The coaster's first few elements run alongside the road to draw in prospective customers, but from within the park, despite how this is the park's tallest coaster, you really can't see it until you're right on top of it. But the reveal of this coaster is a true wow moment as you see the 164-foot or 50-meter tall lift hill and that twisting first drop. This coaster looks like the child of Expedition G-Force and Steel Vengeance. For many years, Intamin was arguably the foremost designer of intense, airtime-packed coasters, but a new competitor entered the ring over the past decade in Rocky Mountain construction. RMC developed coasters jam-packed with airtime, offering rapid-fire elements that would eject you from your seat in all different orientations. Intamin clearly noticed this as Conda, like several of their other recent projects, have elements inspired by RMC. The first drop twists 90 degrees to the right, and it's followed by a camelback much like Expedition G-Force. But then you navigate a massive outward banked hill just like the one in Steel Vengeance. After a unique turnaround section, Conda has a return run reminiscent of Steel Vengeance or Untamed, with a flurry of small hills giving quick ejector pops. Just replace the inversions RMC is known for, with the occasional bunny hill with sustained ejector airtime just like the other Intamin Mega Coasters. Conda alone makes quite the impression, but Walibi went above and beyond by adding theming in the ride's immediate area and station. The area has a jungle vibe with these giant rock statues, and the ride's booming soundtrack fills the area. It just gives the ride an epic feel. You enter the ride's queue line by passing through a temple with a giant snake head on it. Then the station also mixes in a jungle aesthetic too. It sort of reminded me of Untamed Station, especially because you have a booming chant and soundtrack whenever a train is dispatched or returns to the station. It really gets you hyped for your ride. Understandably, this ride often has had the longest line at Walibi Belgium ever since opening. It's not only new, but it's a real crowd pleaser. Fortunately, the line has been hovering around the 25 to 35 minute mark most days this summer, which is more than worth it for a coaster like this. And I don't mind the wait anyway because it offers arguably the best views of this coaster. There are a few reasons why lines have been manageable thus far. 1. The operations on Conda are incredible. The trains seat just 24 riders across 12 rows, which is considerably smaller than the earlier Intamin Mega Coasters. But this one compensates with a faster lift hill and simplified restraints. You just have lap bars and the crew can rapidly check them. The coaster is running just one train during my visit due to a stormy forecast, but the line still moved at a steady rate thanks to the crew. From what I've heard, 2 trains are thankfully the norm. 2. Even the highest tier Speedy Pass currently limits you to just one ride on Conda. Speaking candidly, I would have used it to lap Conda for hours had that been possible. Right now, the only unlimited option to skip this line is the highest tier and pricey season pass. But I suspect in time this ride will become unlimited on the highest tier Speedy Pass, much like the rest of the park's attractions. If you run to this attraction first thing, and I mean run because guests will race back there, you can have a minimal wait, but this coaster is notorious for warming up throughout the day. A morning ride on Conda is still fantastic, but some of the elements will hit harder after the coaster is cycled several times. If lines are long, you do have a single rider line. It was less effective on a day with just one train in use, but it seems to get you on the ride relatively quickly as long as you don't have a seat preference. And every seat in this coaster is elite, thankfully. If you wait in the standby or Speedy Pass queue, you can request to wait for either the very front or very back row. While the front has the added sense of speed, I think this is a back row coaster. That first drop is simply magical in the back car, and I think the finale also has more oomph back there. Now let's talk about those trains. First off, they're gorgeous. They have a scaly paint scheme, and the lead car is a fanged snake on the front. 2, they are ridiculously comfortable. If you've ridden Pantheon or Red Force, the trains are identical. You have an overhead lap bar that comes down comfortably while still granting you plenty of room to feel the airtime. Unlike some Intamins like Velocicoaster or Terran with elevated seats, the feet of most riders will rest on the floor of the train. The beat then picks up, and once dispatched, you roll out of the station and ascend the lift hill. If you look to your right, you can get a great view of the rest of the park. Once at the top, you are treated to one of the best first drops in the world. This drop is super steep with a max angle of descent of 80 degrees, and halfway down, it also twists 90 degrees to the right. The obvious comparison is Expedition G-Force. Both drops offer a delightful combination of powerful ejector airtime and wicked laterals, but they are applied differently here. On Expedition G-Force, the airtime and laterals start simultaneously. On Conda, you're first ejected from your seat, then the laterals kick in halfway down the drop. I sort of think this makes the laterals wilder because you're completely levitated out of your seat when thrown sideways in this one. This drop is still fun up front as you get some lift, but the airtime is way less extreme, as are the laterals. The pullout, like many in the first half, juxtaposes this airtime with some solid positive Gs. It gives Conda some nice variety. The second hill is a 125 foot or 38 meter tall camelback, offering some amazing sustained ejector airtime. It's a trademark Intamin hill reminiscent of the second hill on something like Expedition G-Force or Hyperion. No one delivers sustained ejector airtime like Intamin. This leads into an outward banked hill that feels nearly identical to the one in Steel Vengeance. You get a beautiful combination of strong and very sustained ejector airtime well on your side. This element did take 1 to 2 hours to reach its full potential, as my morning rides only had decent to good ejector airtime. But no matter when you ride, you will get some degree of ejector airtime, and it'll be very sustained. This element packs a far greater punch than the one on Pantheon. Next is the non-inverting Cobra Roll, a one-of-a-kind element. This was one of the weakest on the ride in terms of airtime, as it only offered weak floater, but it excelled in other ways. The ascent into it piles on the positive Gs, and the twists offer some nice laterals. They're particularly incredible in the back car and the descent. You gently levitate out of your seat, and then your body is viciously snapped sideways on the twisting plunge. Conda then flies over a giant speed hill, offering a few seconds of strong and sustained ejector airtime. It reminds me of a B&M speed hill in terms of how sustained the airtime is, but the power is more on par with the ejector airtime bunny hills on the Intamin Mega Coasters. The element is also plussed by a great head chopper in the descent with some of Conda's supports. You then zoom around a low and decently forceful turn that leads into a wall stall, which is Intamin's take on the RMC wave turn. Vekoma has also tried these elements in recent years too, but no one has been able to match those in RMCs. Conda's wall stall only offers weak floater airtime, not the ejector you get in RMCs, but is semi-sustained at least once the ride warms up. Conda then zooms around another low turn and traverses yet another speed hill. This one is a bit smaller than the first one, but it rides pretty similarly from a force perspective, again offering some wonderful sustained ejector airtime. At this point, Conda starts their turn run and navigates a series of elements reminiscent of an RMC. First is this S-Hill. Intamin has been using this element for years on their hypers, but this one features a bank double down on the other side. The front gets a good floater pop at the apex and a decent burst in the second dip. Those towards the back get 2 brief but stronger bursts of airtime. You then cruise over another bunny hill, delivering sustained ejector airtime like one of Expedition G-Force's final hills. I'm glad Intamin didn't go full RMC and still add another sustained airtime moment on the return run, because that's really what this manufacturer is known for. You then sharply twist left, and everyone gets a good jolt of laterals, and those up front will get lightly popped out of their seat too. Conda then charges through 4 little humps on its way back to the brake run. This is very much like Steel Vengeance. Every single hump launches you airborne, and you barely have time to return to your seat in between. Humps 2 through 4 were particularly potent. I know not everyone likes elements this abrupt, but I like being tossed about like a rag doll, and I don't mind the airtime isn't super sustained because it happens earlier in the ride. This ends the 3,937 foot or 1,200 meter long coaster with a bang. This coaster is not only chock full of airtime, but it's masterfully paced and glass smooth too. So what would I rate Conda? I would give this Intamin Mega Coaster a 10 out of 10. This is an exceptional coaster and one of the best I've experienced. The layout offers the sustained ejector airtime we expect from an Intamin Hyper, while also mixing in RMC-like airtime pops and some wild laterals. The ride is engaging start to finish, and the experience is amplified by the theming in the station that sets the tone. I had very high expectations for Conda, and most certainly met them. This is not only the best coaster at Walibi Belgium by a long shot, but it is also the best Intamin Mega Coaster out there in my opinion. So those are my thoughts on Conda at Walibi Belgium. What are your thoughts on this incredible coaster? Do you agree it's the best Intamin out there? Let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canobie Coaster. Thanks for watching.